Good evening, everyone. As Caroline just said, I'm here to talk to you about minor party politics, but also major party politics in general in the United States, because of course you can't separate the two. When one person votes for a minor party, as the major parties will constantly remind you, you're affecting those major parties. You can't, of course, separate them. So I don't want to talk to you necessarily about some aggregate numbers. I don't want to talk to you about scientists that you've never heard of before. This is a study that I conducted myself. It's a study that surveyed approximately 500 individuals in the town of Waterford, Connecticut, specifically at one precinct, which was Oswegatchie. And we surveyed approximately 17% of the individuals that voted at Oswegatchie that day. Everyone who exited the polling place was asked to complete the survey. We have a margin of error of about 4%. And this was done pen and paper style, right there, person to person. But before I talk about my data, let's conduct a little research with the link that you just pulled up. All right, so does everybody have it up? Give me a thumbs up. All right, looks like we're pretty good. You can still see the link right up top if you still want to get to it. All right. Okay, so please answer this question. In a perfect world, which candidate did you most want to win the 2016 election? The options that you see on your phones include Hillary Clinton, the Democrat, Donald Trump, the Republican, Gary Johnson, the Libertarian, and Jill Stein, the Green. You could also, I believe, select the option none of the above. So I'll give you guys a few more seconds to get that in. All right, so let's see how we did. As expected in liberal, Wheaton College, most people wanted Hillary Clinton in a perfect world to win the election. 31% didn't like any of those candidates. 5% wanted Stein, 5% for Johnson, and about 3% for Donald Trump. But now let's go to the next question, which mirrors one of the questions that was asked on my survey. And that is, which presidential candidate did you cast a vote for in 2016? Give you guys just one more second. Now, who can guess which candidate is red? That's right, it's Hillary Clinton and another small subsect saying that they didn't vote. And not so surprising, we don't see that many people voting for Gary Johnson or Jill Stein. Of course, Donald Trump probably being an anomaly being at Wheaton College right now. I apologize, hang on just one second. So this was a question that was also asked of individuals in Waterford, Connecticut as part of my exit poll. And as most people would have you believe, it's very difficult for an individual who wants to vote for a third-party candidate to actually follow through with it. You can see here that Gary Johnson, only 76% of individuals who wanted Gary Johnson to win actually decided to vote for Gary Johnson, meaning he lost a significant number of votes. And you see the same thing with Jill Stein, who only 61% of her supporters actually de facto went to the polls that day and decided to vote for her. That's a large number of Americans who feel scared when they go to the polling place to vote for the candidate and vote for the values that they believe in, that they want to see win. And I don't know about you, but I feel like there's something wrong with that, where we can live in a country that promotes democracy the way that we do, and we can still have this be a reality when we go to the polling station. But of course, there's a lot that goes into that. So let's carry on. A big issue that many major party supporters have with minor parties is that they, quote unquote, steal votes from that party. We can see here, however, after individuals who were surveyed rank ordered all of their preferences in order of from 1 being most preferred as a candidate to 4 being least. We can see here that individuals who decided to vote for a third-party candidate would not have necessarily, first and foremost, voted for another major party candidate. Many of them would have not come out to vote at all. However, when you look at individuals who decided to vote for Gary Johnson, most people say that the Libertarian Party is fairly right-wing. Most people would say that the Libertarians, at least perhaps in past elections, would perhaps take more votes away from Republicans than they would Democrats. This clearly wasn't the case, at least in Waterford, Connecticut. You see that just as many people decided to vote for Gary Johnson, but may have voted for Hillary Clinton if if Gary Johnson hadn't run. And the exact same number of people would have perhaps voted for Donald Trump if Gary Johnson hadn't run. And most people would also say, and I'm one of them, that the Green Party is to the left of the Democrats. You wouldn't think that they would go for a right-wing candidate. And yet we still saw individuals who would have voted for Donald Trump over both Gary Johnson and Hillary Clinton, who decided to vote for Jill Stein. I hope that this starts to knock down some of the idea that minor parties are stealing votes from major party candidates. While you may continue to believe that they are stealing votes, at least accept the fact that they are not stealing them in the way that you perhaps think. We have to change the conversation in this way. And then along the same lines, I took the data from the same ranked system, and I decided to calculate it using the board account method. And what that is you assign anyone's first choice with 4 points, anyone's second choice with 3 points, and you go down from there. You add all of those up, and you can see who the most preferred candidate was in an election. By a long shot, you can see that Hillary Clinton, with 935 points, was the most preferred candidate. And down here at the bottom, we have Donald Trump with 714. In Waterford, Connecticut, according to my poll, 36% of voters voted for Donald Trump, and less than 5% combined voted for Jill Stein and Gary Johnson. Clearly, however, they were the more preferred candidates. So again, due to the fact that we have the voting system that we have, we see that individuals are not voting for the candidates that perhaps they prefer, to some degree at least. The last question that I asked on this survey, which was developed in part by Professor Brad Bishop, had individuals who took the survey look at 4 different potential candidates that they could encounter in an election. They were made-up candidates with made-up names. However, they were very real labels, party labels next to their names, and very real platforms under their name. Now, half of the individuals that took this survey were told that the correct party label, were given individuals that had the correct party label listed with the correct party platform. The other half had the party platform and the party label switched. So you had Green Party label over a Democratic Party platform, and vice versa, of course, the other way. And then you have the Republican Party label with a Libertarian Party platform and switched on the other side of that as well. When you tally all of these up, and you examine votes by label and by platform, you can see that for the label, there's a much stronger lean towards the Democratic and the Republican candidates. However, when you look at it by platform, you can see that there's a bit more of a lean towards the Green and Libertarian candidates. This at least suggests that there's more interest in these Green and Libertarian Party platforms, and that people are drawn to the simple label of being a Democrat or Republican, regardless of what those people believe. This, again, is striking to me. It shows that perhaps A, we don't give as much thought to who we vote for when we go to the polling place as perhaps we would all like to think. But also B, that there are very specific platform points that the American public would like to see discussed that are completely left off the table when it comes to American elections. So what does this all mean? We've gone through and we've seen that there is a general interest in minor parties to some extent. It's there. We've seen that people are afraid to act on the beliefs that they may have. There's less knowledge of minor party platforms than perhaps there should be. And minor party labels and platforms could be as favorable as major party platforms. So what do we do about it? There are a number of things we can do. First, you can advocate for campaign finance reform. This is something that is crucial to, I believe, major parties as much as it is to minor parties. When you have candidates who are spending tens of millions of dollars in presidential elections and other parties that are completely unable to follow in those same footsteps, there's clearly something wrong. While we do practice free speech in this country, we don't practice equal speech, which I think, and I believe that many of you believe, is a distinct pillar of democracy, and at least should be as we go forward. We can work to remove restricted ballot access laws. We can work to remove party labels from ballots. We can all sign petitions to try and get individuals into the presidential election so that we can hear about these different views more. And we can also work to adopt ranked choice voting, as just happened in Maine in the 2016 election. But I leave you with this thought, that when you go to the poll, you can't just advocate for your own ideas in a democracy. You can't just advocate for a one-party state. We have to share this country. We have to share it together. And there are so many people here in this audience that I know, if you read the Libertarian Party platform, if you read the Green Party platform, if you read any party's platform outside of the two major parties, you would find points where you agree. I believe that we should take steps to move in a direction where we have a multi-party democracy so that we can explore new options and new solutions to the problems that we face today, as opposed to living in a world that's black and white, Democratic and Republican, and overall not working. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed.